Guys, we move forward into lesson 21 here in unit 1. This is understanding angle relationships. This is day 1 of this lesson. There's a lot of vocabulary in this lesson here, but this first page has a lot of words, so I want to just go ahead and give you guys a diagram and walk you through these definitions. Okay, so what we have here is a parallel line, a set of parallel lines here. Okay, so line J and K, and then we have this line that passes through both lines. This line that passes through is called a transversal. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and write this word so that you can see the key words that I'm looking at here. Okay, so again, this line that passes through the parallel line is called a transversal. And what's significant about a transversal is that when you have this transversal, I don't like that. Let's start over. Hi guys, this is day 1 of lesson 21. We move forward into unit 4. This is understanding angle relationships. There's a lot of words on this page, and I want to go ahead and walk through some of the vocabulary first. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot back and just have a picture of what we will be talking about today. Okay, so what you see right there is you see a parallel line, and parallel line is made with line J and line K here, and these lines never cross. Okay, they have the same slope, they're not going to cross, they're parallel. Okay, also what we have is this third line right here that cuts through the parallel line. This line right here is called a transversal. I'm going to go ahead and write it so you guys can see these key words that I'm going to be using today. Okay, so transversal, transversal, transversal. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, this transversal right here. And what's significant about a transversal is when it cuts this parallel line, it creates quite a few different angles. The first type of angle that you see are a bunch of vertical angles, and we talked about that in the last unit. Okay, so vertical angles. Okay, so vertical angles. So vertical angle 1 and 3 are vertical. They're across from each other. Vertical angles 2 and 4, they are across from each other. Down here you have the exact same thing across from each other. 6 and 8, they are vertical angles. And 5 and 7 are also vertical angles. And from the last unit, we know that vertical angles are congruent, which means they are equal to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and write that word as well. So congruent. Okay, so they are equal to each other. Okay, so a few more types of angles that are formed when a transversal cuts a parallel line. Let me go ahead and erase this for a second here. So the first type of angles are called corresponding angles. Okay, so corresponding angles. Okay, so corresponding angles are angles that are in the exact same location, but they're on the other parallel line. So for example, number 1 here, this angle number 1, it's on the top left-hand corner of the first line. Its corresponding angle is number 5. This number 5 is on the top left-hand corner of the second parallel line. We call those corresponding angles. Okay, let's look at another one. So angle number 2, its corresponding angle, this is on the top right-hand side of the parallel line. When we go to the next line, line J here, the top right-hand corner is angle 6. Angle 6 corresponds to angle 2. They're in the same location. Same as angle 4 and angle 8. They're in the same location, left bottom. And angle 3 and angle 7 are on the same location, bottom right hand corner. Okay, so what's significant about a corresponding angles when a parallel line is cut by a transversal is that corresponding angles are equal, are also congruent. Okay, so are congruent. Are congruent. They're equal. Okay, so if one was, let's say, 135 degrees, angle 3 will also be, whoopsies, I said 135, not 130. Okay, will also be 135 degrees as well. Okay, so they are equal. Okay. Okay, so another type of angle that is formed when a parallel line is cut by a transversal is something called alternate interior angle. So alternate interior angles. Okay, so a few words here that you see. Alternate. Okay, so opposite sides. That's what that word alternate. So we're alternating one side to the other. Interior means on the inside. And you know angles already. So alternate interior angles. So for example, 4 and 6, you're alternating sides, okay? And it's in the interior, so inside, in between the two parallel lines. So alternate interior angles are 4 and 6. Alternate interior angles are 5 and 3. Okay, so 5 and 3 here. And again, when two parallel lines are crossed or cut by a transversal, these alternate interiors, so 4 and 6, and 5 and 3, these alternate interior angles are also congruent, so are congruent as well. Okay, the next type of angles. All right, so the next type of angles, this type of angle is alternate interior. We're going to call them alternate exterior. So same word again, alternate. And this time is exterior. Okay, so alternate exterior angle. So it's kind of the same concept that alternate opposite sides. Okay, so opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, and exterior means they're now on the outside of the parallel line. So for example, 1 here is on the outside of the parallel line. Alternate means the opposite side. This is on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side on the bottom here. So 1 and 7, we call those alternate exterior angles. Okay. Also, alternate exterior angles are angles 8 and 2. 8 and 2, opposite side of the transversal, alternating sides of the transversal, and exterior means that they're on the outside of the parallel line. And what's significant about alternate and exterior angles is that they are also congruent, so are congruent as well, okay? Meaning that they are equal, okay? Okay, one final thing about the parallel lines that's cut by a transversal is that you have these lines, these angles that formed 180 degrees, okay? So they are supplementary to one another, so the word that we learned last week, okay? So for example, when you see 1 and 2, they are supplementary to one another. So this angle and this angle will equal to 180 degrees, okay? So they're supplementary angles. Also 4 and 6, not 6, I'm sorry, 4 and 3 are supplementary angles. That means they equal to 180. You have 5 and 6, 8 and 7, but there's plenty more. Okay, so take a look at it and see if you can see more. You have 1 and 4. That makes a straight line. You have 2 and 3 as well. You have 1 and actually 1 and 8 down here. Okay, or 5 and 8. You have 6 and 7. Okay, and so in this chapter they call this one these numbers here, these types of angle, they call it a linear pair. A linear pair are two angles that make up 180 degrees. Okay, so that makes up 180 degrees. So even a linear pair can be 1 and 8. Okay, they're going to be making up 180 degrees. 2 and 7 as well. Okay, so not just the ones that are obvious. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get back to the lessons in the book here. Okay, so again, all of these words right here just basically tells you the those vocabulary that I just did with you guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and read what they have on here. It says, here are more angle relationships shown in the figure. And in this problem here in the book, they don't just have two lines that are parallel, they have 3 lines that are parallel. So it's just kind of the same thing, they just added an additional line. Okay, so looking here at this figure here, you have angle 2 and angle 5. So here's angle 2 and angle 5, and they're across from each other. We call those vertical angles. Okay, and those vertical angles are congruent. There's a symbol that they use for congruency right there. You see, it's like an equal sign with a little squiggly thing on top. Okay, the next one, angle 1 and 2 are corresponding angles. So 1 and 2 right here, 1 and 2, they're in the same location, the top right hand side of their parallel line, just on a different line. We call those corresponding angles, which are congruent. Okay, next one, 1 and 5. numbers 1 and 5 here, these are alternate interior angles. So on the inside of the parallel line, alternating sides of the transversal, they are equal as well, equal or congruent here. Okay, finally the next one, it says angle 5 and 6 are linear pairs. 5 and 6, they form a straight line. They are supplementary to each other. We call them linear pairs. They are equal to 180 degrees, okay? And so the last part, it says name other pairs of corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, and vertical angles, and angles in a linear pair. So you're just kind of doing this here. Just telling me more, not just these ones here. Give me additional examples of corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, vertical angles, and angles that are in a linear pair, okay? A linear pair. Go ahead and work on these on your own. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.